And your
And
girl
I
DJ Johnny D. What's up, y'all?
what's good, y'all? What's good? I'm gonna wait for a few people to jump in. Let me make sure I can be heard. DJ Shiny D. I'm about to go over to go over to my page real quick to make sure that we can be heard in our audio. And well, we know the video is good, but I just want to make sure the audio is good. And then
Okay.
I'll wait for a few people to jump in, and then we'll start the conversation up.
Well, while we
Oh,
waiting on
so
them, while we
while
waiting
we
on
waiting
them,
on that, we'll just have our little monologue. So, how was your Friday today?
Friday was a good. It's been a good week. It's been a long week and a noisy week. So
Okay, we can be heard. So there we go.
yeah, it's good to just be chilling right now.
Yes,
Like
it is. Yes, it
really
is.
peace
Yeah.
and quiet. Like I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he was like, "What are you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Twiddling my toes on couch." That's
Okay.
that's what I want to do. So what are you doing? Well, first of all, let me say this: you got a birthday coming up Sunday. Sunday, you about to be big man.
The big five. Oh,
Big
first and
man.
foremost, I want to say this is Leo season.
Let's go.
I want to say what's up to all the Leos out there.
Hey.
That have birthdays this month. But yes, I'm turning the big 50
Big
Sunday. I'll be
time.
50 years old
Oh,
Sunday. It's definitely a milestone. It's definitely an accomplishment. Years ago. I would always try to push my age back. You know what I mean? But I've
you
I've
flying.
accepted it.
You fronting.
I finally made it. I'm 2 days away. So, for
Yeah,
making it to 50. But I feel good. I look
that's
good.
for sure.
And I'm ready. Um, I'm ready for what 50 has to offer.
Well, let me tell you, how can I explain some stuff? 50 was a real turning point. Like, I'm gonna tell you the one thing that stopped, and I am a Leo too, so I don't know if that matters, but it does to me. Um,
Yes.
I think that I stopped really kind of giving a fuck what people thought about me. You know, um, it's something when there's a realization that um what people think about you is none of your business. You know,
Right.
I really don't need to know. And the fakeness started going out. Like I can't do fake at all. Like what you see is what you get with me. And I'm not fronting no more. That's the one thing, the two things that 50 has brought me. So,
Right.
and there is an ease in that when you start letting go of people's opinions of you. It's a lot lighter. Life is a lot lighter, and you really kind of revel in it because relish in it because it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
So that's
what are
what's
you
up. So we
expecting?
have a few people watching. People have been jumping in, jumping out, but I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's Freestyle Friday. I'm 2 days away from my birthday, so we're just talking about what it feels like, and the ins and outs of what it is to be 50 and over. You
It's
know what I mean?
beautiful.
So I need for you guys to make sure you put your comments down below in the comment section. You know, how did it feel when you turned 50? And I'm
Oh,
gonna ask you that question, LaShawn.
mhm.
What was when you turned 50, or you know what? I'm not gonna even ask you that. I don't want to put your age out,
No,
but
listen, please. I'm honest. Let's go.
and I'm trying to be respectful. I know most
No,
women don't like telling their age. And you know what? And I'm gonna ask you that
I don't.
question. Why
I
is it that?
don't.
Why do women have a problem with revealing their age?
Well, I'm gonna say this because I'm not one of those people that really hide stuff like that. I just think it's unnecessary. But I can say that I would think, and this is outside looking in, I am a woman, and we know how men have a cutoff, like an age cutoff where they feel like, oh, it's just tainted and it's just, and it's old, it's wore out, it's all that. But some of these young girls y'all fucking with now have had more relationships than some of these older women because, like, we come from a time where you wasn't out here sleeping with everybody. It's just not something you did. Licking behind, licking butts. That is disgusting.
Listen, see, and that was one of the conversations that we supposed to had last Friday, and you
I can't
brought
not
it
even
up.
on your
So
not
yeah,
even
so
on your
listen,
birthday.
right. So you know what? Since you
Can
brought it up, but yeah, and I agree with you 100%. This younger
you
generation with some of the things that they
they're just more
do and
free.
they accept.
No judgment,
Yeah,
no judgment. There's no judgment.
and,
Like,
and, and I don't have any judgment.
they're
What you
having
do in
fun.
the bedroom, what you do in the
Mhm.
bedroom is your business. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I don't have a problem with with people that like to get freaky. That's really what it is. It's just some freaky shit.
It's too freaky. Too freaky, too dirty. Yes.
Yeah, that's a little bit too freaky to me. I can't, and I want to ask you this question. What do you think? Because to me, I think that's something that women should get more of a pleasure. What do you think about men, accepting and wanting their ass licked and ate? Because before you answer that question, because to me,
It's weird.
I think that's a step away from, you know what I mean? I think that's just off limits for a man to be played with down there. It's too much of.
Judgment. No judgment.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to judge, but
Allegedly.
to
Allegedly.
me, I mean, and to each his own, But if you allow somebody to lick and do that, I mean,
Hey,
how
hey.
far would you go?
I'm just saying, I overheard some stuff where, like, this first date kind of stuff, like, now, like, first date, first date, like, I don't know,
See,
like I said,
see, yeah, and that's crazy. I mean, and
it's
how do
weird
you even listen? How do you even allow yourself to do some shit like that on the first date?
because it's fun and it's what they like to do, and nobody is. I know the one thing that younger people say is that older people are always in judgment of them. So I don't feel that way. I don't I'm talking personally, like my personal preference. But if you want to do, please just be responsible and do your thing, have fun. There are some times where I wish I had been a little more open, but so now I'm just like, it's a lot of stuff I ain't gonna do. I just ain't gonna do it.
Right.
And that's
And like I said, and
that's
this was a conversation that we supposed to had last week. And
yeah.
we're gonna save that conversation. So I don't want you to get too
No, yeah,
personal,
I
about
don't
that.
because I have no information for you. I don't
Right,
know.
right, right. And but yeah, and like I said, I try not to judge people,
Yeah.
because and then and I'll address that. I'll actually answer that question that I asked you, for and I asked this question, and he may be watching this. One of my coworkers at work, and we actually talked about this. That's why I was going to do the show, because a lot of the panel shows that I do stem from conversations that we have at work. And that conversation, the show that we supposed to have did last week stemmed from a conversation that we were having at work. And it came up. It was a gentleman. He doesn't like oral sex.
Mm,
And a lot of women at the job, they couldn't believe that. You
mm.
know what I mean?
I,
So,
I
but
get I get that. I
yeah,
understand.
but like I said, I don't judge anybody. To me personally, I just wouldn't want nobody playing around and fondling around down there, with me.
So I can only go by the boyfriends that I've had in the past and
Right.
what they like. And that was just the whole zone, the whole area, the whole surrounding area was like, they please don't look at it too long. Don't you know, like, so it's just hard for me to imagine doing it when I've been in whole long-term relationships and never had to do it. So, because that's a have to for me. Like, like if it's ever this close in my face, there's a gun right to this
Right. See, and for the people that's watching right now, it's Freestyle Friday, but right now we're talking about, just the differences between the younger generation and the older generation sexually, things that you may or may not do in the bedroom, but and then we're also talking about being over 50 and at 50, you may that you things that you may encounter, or just how your body feels at 50 or over 50. But one thing I do want to ask you,
Wait, I
like
thought of something. Let me say this.
and this was before my 50s, Lashawn.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
used to get offended when motherfuckers used to be like, "Hey, what up, Unc?" I'm like, "Nigga, I ain't your motherfucking Unc," but
Right.
I've accepted that about 10 years ago when I was at Shap. That's when I
Mhm.
first got it. I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, and I didn't understand that, the lingo. The younger generation,
Mm.
talking. How did you feel first when a young woman or a young lady called, "What up, auntie" or "auntie"?
They still do. They still do. I really don't find offense to it. I see it as a term of endearment. I'd rather be called that than old lady or something like that. I'd rather be called auntie. And that
Okay,
just to me, and to me, I kind of read younger girls because I kind of identify with them a little bit. But it is like, okay, you are older, but you're still kind of pretty. You know what I mean?
right,
Like you still could get it. You still could get something out here.
right.
So, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. It doesn't really bother me. You know what I mean? I want to know this on our last
Okay, we got a
conversation.
few comments. Rico Henley said, better than my son, Mr. Laggy, with three G's videos. And then he also said, "Hi." I don't know what you have to explain what
Hi,
you meant with on
Rico.
your first comment.
Yeah, wait, let
Go
me
go
read.
ahead, Listen. I
Hold
didn't
on.
mean to cut you
Hold
off.
on, let me say. He says better than my son, Mr. Laggy, with 3GS videos. I don't know what GS means. You're gonna have to educate us. We 50, Rico.
Yeah,
You gotta
educate us. We in the 50. Well, I'll be 50 in 2 days. So kind of educate me on what the three G's videos mean. I guess that means three G's.
three G's. Oh,
Okay, he said
okay.
he's a famous
Now
celebrity.
see, I understand that. Like, okay, now I understand what he was saying.
Well, break
So
it down to me because I'm not.
well, the thing about it is he was saying better than his son, Mr. Laggy, with the 3G videos. That's just what he's saying. I've never seen 3G videos, but I feel like it's something in there that is out there.
Okay,
Right.
well, I'm gonna look it up.
Mhm.
Rico. But we, right
But
now,
I gotta say,
it's Leo season. We talking about the Leos, talking about being over 50 right now. It's Freestyle Friday. So if you're not a subscriber, I need you to please hit that subscribe button and make sure that you like, comment, and share. But
I got
I'll
something
be
to
50
say.
coming up here Sunday.
I got
We were
something to
just
say.
talking about go ahead, my bad, Lashon, go ahead.
Okay, please. We were on the conversation of the sexual thing that happens.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
definitely was going to get back to that.
right.
Okay, and thanks
Okay.
thanks
But
for
just
your
like
subscription, Rico.
I'm gonna forget it.
No, go
But
ahead.
so when you finish, like what do you do with all this? Like what
Listen,
you just sit
I
there?
don't know what to tell you about that part. Only thing I can tell you about, as far as what the Earl, maybe you would do the same thing you do after you're done having oral sex, is wash your motherfucking face and scrub all that shit. But I couldn't tell you. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't tell you what you got to do after eating some ass.
I don't know how I would feel if I was see, it's like a just different time. Like I said, no judgment to now and what they like. But I just can't even picture my man, like in that position. Like
Listen, I would feel so uncomfortable. I'm gonna be honest, and listen. I pride myself on being clean and my hygiene and all that, But how do you approach and ask somebody to even do some shit like that?
Well,
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
that I think that it's pretty open now. Like it's just conversations. So I just don't think that they have the qualms that we had. You know, we got to stop thinking that. And I'm with this. Let's kind of maneuver into this too. We have to realize that we are the old people. You know what I mean? And I think
Listen,
from our
I've been trying to accept this shit, but are we really old?
yes.
We are.
Yes.
So I can officially call myself old now.
Have you ever seen you walk? Have you ever seen you walk? Have you ever seen me walk? Yes, we are old. So we can tell ourselves whatever in our heads, but yes,
Right.
we are old. And it's okay. It's a
Mm.
badge of honor. And we need to wear it like one
No,
for real.
listen, look, listen. I'm wearing it like a badge of honor, because I rather die old than what's the word? Stay 21 forever.
Yeah, yeah. That
You know what
21
I
for
mean? So listen, I used to didn't I didn't accept myself being getting older. It used to. I'm gonna be honest. It used to bother me for years. I really didn't accept my age until probably like the last 10 years. Now I'm accepting, and I'm enjoying being, an older man. Because it comes with a lot of things. It comes with maturity, it comes with patience, it comes with and respect,
oops, yeah.
so it's just a lot that comes with being older, and I've accepted it. I love being older gentleman. I try to separate myself. And I'm still young at heart. You know what I mean? I still listen to you know the same music that I've always listened to. Some rap, some R&B. But some things have changed. I do want to change the way I dress. I still dress somewhat like I'm probably like in my 30s or 40s. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
mhm,
that part of me, I
mhm.
probably start transitioning within the next maybe 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Well,
and why I say that, and not to cut you off on why when I say that, because when I was younger, I used to see older niggas still dress like, look at this old nigga
see,
still
that's what
thinking
I
he
think
got it. You see what I'm
I
saying?
think of that
And I see
too.
niggas like that at work all the time, and it just cracks me up, because it takes me back to when I was a young man, and I used to
Mhm.
say that, but I've accepted it, so
Hey,
give
I
give
got
go
jokes.
ahead and say what you was getting ready to say, baby.
I'm just saying, I used to have jokes on old people,
Right,
like jokes, and I just didn't have the discernment to know at the time, like, hey, you're gonna get older, and so
right.
it's like all of the things that I kind of laughed at people about, like, look at that
N-
lip, look at
Now it's
this.
coming back on you. Yeah.
And it's cool.
And
It's
what was
what it
some
is.
what was some of the jokes? Give us some of the jokes that you used to talk or say about older people.
No, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna put
No,
nobody.
I want to hear it.
Well, I don't want to say because I don't feel that way now. You know what I mean? Like, so that's not the
Well,
message I
you
would
put
ever
you
want
put it
to.
out there, so okay, give us one.
Exactly. I put it out there as a learning experience for me. Like, I
Okay.
was,
Well,
a
at least
rapper.
give us one of the jokes, please.
I know. I won't because I'm grown and I'm old. So whatever I
Okay.
put out there, like, could come back on me. I don't. I regret it. And, I have more compassion for people with like knee pain, with
Listen,
like back pain, like
I used to
I
take a
know
lot of that shit for granted, but that shit is real.
it's real. Like I remember I was listening to Cat Williams one time. He was talking about like sometimes you ever be in the bed and you want to get up like right away. you just you just can't. You like I'm gonna lay here a little while longer. Like that was no joke. So it is what it is. But I'm happy to be here. And I think
Yeah.
that I look good. I could look better. I still got some work to do on me, but
No,
you know,
you listen. You definitely still look fabulous. At
thank you.
50, I won't say I don't know exactly your age, but
I'm
you
53.
don't look 50.
Yeah,
You look marvelous. You look beautiful.
yeah,
So I'll
well, thank
definitely
you.
say that. So black definitely doesn't crack.
Yeah, Imma tell you this though, after 50, I stopped counting. Like, I had to, like, count my age because how old am I? Like, it's not like your milestone, it's like 50 is your milestone and
Right.
your last real milestone. But I can say this, I have kicked it for every single birthday. Every single milestone birthday, I have done something spectacular. So, I'm happy with that,
And,
and yeah.
and
And
you know,
now I don't even wanna
and
be
this
around
I will say this, LaShawn. A lot of ailments, a lot of things has been coming up within the last year or two,
Oh, it's
since
all
I've turned
downhill.
50.
It's all
And
downhill.
I'm not gonna say, and I take pride on trying to keep myself in shape and and just keep myself. I'm not gonna say tip top shape, but somewhat in shape. But I will tell you this, and I want to hear your opinion on that. I've been getting a lot of ailments within the last year. Did you seem to have a lot of ailments coming out once you got over the 50 mark?
Well, Imma say this, 50 is kinda all downhill, and you really have to work on it. And I think the misconception is, okay, because I work and I walk all day and I stand all day, that's working out. Let me tell you something,
Right.
that is not. That is not. The first time you do some cardio, you're gonna realize how out of shape you really
That you are, yeah, and I agree. What
so
up though, Meg Kifno? He made a comment. Hello, how you doing? He said he's
hey,
Arabic. I thank you for joining the show. If you're not a subscriber,
Eric,
make sure
hi,
to hit that subscribe button. But how
I'm
you doing?
good. Rico and Meg. What's up, y'all?
Yeah,
Alright, so but my thing is, just embrace it. Life can be beautiful. I think that what makes life difficult is when you go the opposite direction of where God wants you to go.
right,
You know what I mean? Like when you go against his plan for you and you don't take the time to have some discernment and listen to him and you make your own decision, then life is hard. But if you are a good person, even when people do you wrong, you are a good person, life could be beautiful, it really could. And that's when 50 becomes a all right, because I don't care what other people think, so I can be myself, I can really be an individual, I'm down for that. Mhm.
right. No, and I agree with you. And you know what I'm starting to think. Like, I think about when my grandmother was 50. Well, I'm not going to say when she was 50, but when she was around my age, and my grandfather. And I kind of, I'm not going to say want to, because they were distinguished. My grandfather, he was a distinguished, laid back type of man. Every time I saw him, he always, and I said this to myself. I said, I was at my granddaughter's house. I was getting my hair braided, and I had some dollars in my pocket, but I didn't have it. I had a few change. I said, you know what? I got to start carrying change now, because I remember when my grandfather and my uncles that was older, they always kept a bunch of goddamn change in their pocket. What is it with old men who always keep goddamn change in their pocket?
'Cause there's always some begging ass kids.
So
That ain't
I
gonna
got to
work
start
with
walking around with
you.
goddamn change in my pocket now.
Man, hey, let me tell you something. I give out $50 for birthdays now. I
Mm,
remember we used to get $5.
right.
Well,
Oh, you a good auntie.
I have no kids, so I ain't got nothing but time to spoil
Yeah,
somebody else's kids. Like I said, I love to get kids candy and coffee and cake and stuff for breakfast. And if that's what they want, they're gonna try it, you know. And
right,
I always got a parent like, well, and I'm joking with the coffee and stuff, but I'm just saying like the aunties is where you have fun. You get good advice. You could tell her anything because, I will keep secrets to a certain extent because if it's serious, somebody got to know. One of your parents got to know.
Right.
But I have kept a lot of secrets, a lot.
Okay.
And and I'm willing to give a little money to show you that I appreciate you and and go buy yourself something nice. If you're a good kid, I'm cool with that.
Right. Okay.
I spoil
Yeah.
kids.
Well,
So
look. We know my birthday is 2 days away. Well, technically, it's one day away because now it's Saturday. I want to give a shout out to my coworkers at work. They threw me a little birthday party while we were at work today working, and I just want to tell everybody thank you for that. It meant the world to me. You know, um, I just want to tell everybody thank you. It was awesome. We had a good time, and you don't. I wouldn't say you don't get a bunch of coworkers like that, but I work with a bunch of great people, you know, um, and I just want to tell everybody thank you, But yeah, at the end of the day, LaShawn, 50 to me means a lot, far as being a black man, because it's a lot of men that did not and was not and is not going to see the age of 50. So it's definitely a milestone. I'm excited. I've been waiting on this, my whole life.
let me ask you a question. You gonna dye your beard?
Yes. And I've been waiting on listen, and hopefully I forget the name of the company. They sent my shit out and they said it was delivered and I never got my shit. So y'all owe me I'm about to look Nova hair. Y'all owe
All
me
right,
some
don't
goddamn
go,
hair dye.
don't go this dark.
No, that I was going that dark. Nova
Why?
hair, y'all owe me another bottle of motherfucking hair shampoo because I was gonna dye my shit. But I've accepted my
So this gonna
grays
be
now,
you.
so I may not even dye my hair no more.
This gonna
Well,
be
I mean
you.
my beard. So and I'm gonna ask the subscribers that should I go back dyeing it black or should I accept the grays and accept that I'm 50 and stay distinguished? And I'm gonna ask you that, LaShawn.
Well,
What do
I'm
you
here.
think?
I'm here. So how about this? How about just not jet black? Can we do like a maybe off black? Maybe if that's a color. I don't know.
Do they even have an
Because
off black? Because I've never saw an off black.
okay, so listen, and no, and I'm making up a color, but
Right.
something a little not so black because I have an ex. This is my very first boyfriend. He came to visit me here in Detroit, and
Right.
and when I tell you, it it looked like this.
He looked like Rick Ross, like
And you
like they
still got
painted his
gray
shit on.
eyebrows. Wait, you still got gray eyebrows, eyelashes, and
Right.
no, don't do that. No, we gon'
Right.
know. We gon' know. We gon' know it's black. That is black now.
Right.
So, uh,
But see, the whole thing is like, and I don't have a problem with dyeing my stuff. I actually like how it looks when it's dark, and then I like how it looks when it's gray too. So, um,
have you ever
I'm
thought
pretty
about
much
going to?
set on. Go
Have you
ahead.
ever thought about going to a colorist to have it professionally done?
I have not. See, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that existed.
Yes, there are people that just do color. That is it. Getting yourself groomed is a process. Like you got to go from one place to another place to another place. The
Trust
thing
me,
is,
I know. I got to go to
you
get my
really,
hair done, and then when I
yeah,
leave there, I got to go get to the barber to get a
barber
lineup
shop to get
and all
lined up.
that.
So it is a process. It's a journey, and you just gotta invest the money because when you
Right.
go to a professional colorist, that color is so dope because that's all they do. And
Right.
so those box dyes are just we gonna know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, some of them definitely, because I've experienced some bad beard dyes, that
You don't have
literally broke
to.
me out. I had to end up going to the goddamn emergency room
You don't
one
have
day.
to do all that. Because at least, they'll do a strand test and find out. But,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
But so I'm surprised. See, 50. That's how you know you're 50. And we're gonna get off the conversation. Is you don't want to go nowhere, you ain't going now. You ain't really having no party or nothing. Like,
Yeah, well, listen, I'm definitely going to step out and go out. I just don't
yeah,
have anything planned right now.
okay, I
So I'm
got
definitely gonna get out. I'm gonna be outside the weekend.
you. Mhm.
I thought we had to work, but I don't have to work. So I was actually in work mode, but now I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to work. So I'm definitely gonna be outside. But it's
You ain't gonna be
Friday.
outside. You ain't gonna be outside. Let's us old people stop saying we're gonna be outside like these young people. We not. We gonna be
Hey,
around.
you know what's so crazy? I was
We gonna
just
be
talking
around.
to my brother about some lingo that um that that someone had said to him, and he didn't accept it in a positive way. You know how these young folks be saying pause and no homo and all that type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was something that was kind of said to him that he took and it kind of he didn't like what the person had said to him.
Mm.
But yeah, I try to stay away from that young talk lingo, but at some point, we surround. At some point, I just be surrounded by a bunch of young folks when I'm at work. So sometimes I throw in a little bit of the young lingo in too.
We the jive turkeys now. The jive turkeys.
Right, right,
We need to bring the lingo back
right.
because
Yeah.
we at that stage. But hey, just embrace it. Hey, I know one thing. On my 50th birthday, I was in Dominican Republic. I woke up on my birthday. The airport lost my luggage, but
Mm,
it didn't matter. Like I didn't care. I cared. Like don't get me
right.
wrong. Like I was freaking out a little bit,
So did
but
they lose it before you got there, or when you were leaving? Because
yes, some
you would have cared if they would have lost your shit when you had just touched down.
well, let me tell you that I was there for 7 days and it was lost 5 days.
Oh wow. So you
So,
had to go.
I was upset, but, Delta took care of me, so and we ain't gonna, hold it against them. But,
Right,
I have, like I said, just enjoyed life and stop getting caught up in going to work and coming home and it's the weekend and we're gonna barbecue. Like even if you just if because I know a lot of guys that aren't really travelers. They don't really have to get on a plane and go anywhere. But can we take a road trip? Can we just go somewhere for the day or the night
right,
or just get outside of your comfort zone a little bit?
right.
Like me, I'm in a state by myself. I'm in a new state at 50 years old by myself.
Yeah,
And
that was a big step that you
man,
took right there.
let me tell you something. I swear I realize I love people, but I don't like people a lot nowadays. So I'd rather be at home. Like this is, beautiful.
Right. See, and one thing, and I agree with you. One thing I've noticed, the older that I get, that I don't mind being at home. I don't mind. See, and this is one thing. When I was younger, I always wanted to be around a lot of people. I always wanted to be out on the scene, But now, since I'm older, and I realize that, that shit is just for, the younger generation and young folks to get out and party and fraternize with each other. I don't have to do that. I'm a married man. You know. And
And so
pretty
what do you
much
think
I
about
can
this? What do you
say that
think
again.
about this? What do you think about this? So ideally, for me, a perfect relationship, and this is what I tell myself in my own mind. Ideally, a perfect relationship for me would be a man that has his own house. I have my own house. We kind of come together some weekends you know, um, and just, companionship. But I don't know if I really want to live with anybody pre-marriage. I just don't. And even after marriage, like
Right.
I don't know,
No,
like
and I understand that. I
we
mean, you're
have a
probably
certain
just used to being, by yourself to the point where, that you probably think that, having someone there probably would just overcrowd or step over your boundaries. But I agree with you.
yeah, I want somebody, but it would just have to be, a God sent guy. It would have to be a perfect guy for me because I definitely revel in my alone time too sometimes, not all the time.
Mm.
But I need, I don't have to be all up under you. I could come and
Now
get
I
my
want to I want to ask you this:
yeah.
being a woman in her 50s, would you date a man in his 50s, or do you have to have someone that's younger than you?
I don't even look at it like that. I actually just think it's the person. The person
Okay.
has to be somebody special.
Would you date
Just
would you
for
date a
me.
man in his 30s?
He would have to be an ultra mature 39-year-old. It would have to be on the tail end of 30. It definitely couldn't be in the beginning. But I don't know. I don't know. Because I find mentally they're on a different playing field, but I'm not going to count anybody out, really. Like I said, we talked about outside of our race.
I was gonna bring that up next too.
Okay, so outside of our race, I've never done it.
See, and I
But
and I and I'm going to ask the people that's watching, how do you feel about and this is not for you, this is for the people that's viewing the show. Tell me, how do you guys feel about dating outside of your race? Would
mm,
that make you feel uncomfortable, or would you worry about what others, thought about you? Because we talked about that in one of the shows that we did previously. And I've dated outside my race when I was in college. And it made me. I'm gonna be honest. It made me feel uncomfortable when I was around um, my own people. And maybe that was just the immaturity in me, and not growing up and just not thinking about just the immaturity, I should say. I have no other excuse for that. Because I think the older me wouldn't even give a fuck or think about what others think. Because that's how I am now. I don't give a fuck about what others think about me. But yeah, give me your opinion on that.
I just feel like, you must have had some doubt about it too. You know what I mean? Like
I didn't.
must have came with that.
Because the friend that I was talking about, they were a really great person. I have nothing bad to say about them. It was just more of me thinking what others thought about me, and
Because
that's
you
really
felt
what it
it.
was.
You felt it. And you felt it yourself. So it's okay. Like, I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but it would have to be somebody outside of my race with some soul. You
Right.
know what I mean? It would have to be some soul there. So because you just can't come in like Bob for marketing, it ain't gonna work.
Right.
It's not gonna work. So yeah, like I said, I ain't trying to put no ceilings on companionship, but
Right.
it cannot be a girl, and it can not be somebody that's really super uptight, not able to
Okay.
communicate.
Now I want to ask you that. Why do you say it can't be a girl?
I'm not trying to
Because and
say
reason why I say that is because it's so open, in this day and age, that it's acceptable now
well,
for
to who?
women.
Not to
For
me.
what? Well, not well. I'm just saying for women in general.
I accept that women like women, okay?
Right.
But when I'm asked, no.
Okay.
I'm not one that likes women. As a matter of fact, I don't like women to whisper in my ear,
Now,
because they're
have you ever been approached by a woman?
all the time.
Mm,
Yes. And some very aggressively. So maybe that's where my defensiveness comes from, because
right.
it was this girl, Cat Blue. I'll never forget her, in my neighborhood. And she was like a sister of a friend of mine. And she tried to corner me in the kitchen one day.
Oh
And
wow.
and that just made me nervous. Like, I got heart palpitations right now thinking about it. So even, it's just me. Like, when I'm with women, or like I sat at a bar one time and I struck up a conversation with a lady, and she went to laugh and lay her hand on my thigh, like laid her hand like she was laughing so hard. And
Right.
I had to, because I just don't like women touching me
Your volume got low, real low.
intimately.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Hold on, I might need to get some earbuds. But all
Yeah,
right, so
I can hear you, but it totally went out. You have
oh,
no
you know what?
bass.
Because I really need a new phone. I do. I'm sorry. Hold
Yeah,
on.
no, you good, but go ahead though. We'll
Yeah,
manage.
yeah, no, but I'm about to go get my earbuds. But no,
Okay.
it's just, and I don't think that people really care if they see something that they like, they're gonna make a move. You know,
Right.
uh, for me, I feel like you should ask first. So I can let you know. And we
Mm,
can move on from there. But if you
right.
make a move and you haven't asked, we got a problem.
Right.
We got a problem. We can't even be friends.
Oh wow.
Hold on. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, take your time. You good.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Well, y'all, I want to make sure that you guys are locked in. Make sure that you're liking, you're subscribing, you're sharing. It's Freestyle Friday. We just talking about any and everything. It's no Pacific topic that we're talking about. We just chopping it up. Just talking about any and everything. But right now we were just talking about being 50 and what it means to be the age over 50, the illness, just talking about just what type of women and men, you know the differences between men and women, and certain things like that. But go ahead and finish saying what you were saying, LaShawn. I can't even hear you now. Nope, you are low.
Okay, hold on. Can you
i,
hear me?
I hear you now. Yep, I hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I want to know, what are some of your regrets?
When I was younger,
No, at 50, what is some things that you would do differently?
did I did when I was younger.
At 50, if you could think back to anything that you would have done differently, like something that you wish you had a done, something you wish you know, could have seen. Um,
um I mean, it's a lot of things that I wish I can go back and and redo if I could. But I'll give you one specific thing. Let me think. It was one thing when I was, and this may not be exactly the answer or you're looking for, but it was one situation. This was with my grandmother before she had passed away, um, and she was on her deathbed. And I this still bothers me to this day. And I said this to myself. I always wish, that I can go back in time and spend that time with her. Before she passed away, it was a situation
mhm,
where she knew she was getting ready to pass away. She had all the grandkids, everybody coming over there. It's like she knew. She saw everybody,
mhm,
and I was in there. I used to actually stay with my grandmother for a few years. We
mhm,
had a really, really close relationship. And it was a
mhm,
situation. She asked me to rub her feet, and I was in there rubbing her feet, and it was a time where all my cousins and everybody was over there, they was over there visiting her, and I got wrapped up into, everyone else being over there versus spending the last minutes that I could have spent with her.
mhm.
So those are one
Yeah,
of the things that I wish I can go back in time and change,
make
because that
you
was one of
appreciate.
my first mentors,
Mhm,
one of the first persons that introduced me to Christ, just taught me a lot of stuff, So if I can go back in time, I would go back and I would rub her feet
all day.
until she took her last breath.
Yeah,
Yes.
all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The thing about Leos is we feel deeply, and when things happen to us, it stays with us. Not saying it doesn't stay with anybody else, but we have to find an appreciation for life. Because I promise you, I want to leave here with legs broke, arms like I didn't live all this body out. Like,
Right.
I promise you, till the wheels fall off. Like, that's how you really should live. Like I want to see sharks, right?
Right.
Everybody knows I have an obsession with great white sharks. I
See, and
want
you know what? That's crazy that you say that because I also too. having a session. I actually have. I'm not.
Yeah,
That's one of my fears. One of my fears. And lions is one of my exception too. And that's our
yeah, I like
sign is
lions
Leo the
too.
lion.
I
You
like
know,
lions.
those are one of my fears is getting ate by a shark or getting attacked by a lion.
And you know what? And I have to kind of readjust because, Shark Week just happened and it was like a
Right.
month. They were showing all kinds of shows. So for a
Right.
month, I watched Shark Week and I wanted to go in the cage. I thought it would be so dope to, go out on a big boat and go out on the cage and then to feed some sharks, get it chummed up.
Man,
Please,
listen.
the shark came in the
Yeah, I was just getting ready to tell you that. I was gonna say until you saw the episode where that motherfucking shark went
cage.
inside that goddamn
In
cage and
the
tore that
cage.
motherfucker up.
Let me tell you something. I would have threw up underwater because that is also my biggest fear. It is my biggest fear is being because I travel to the ocean all the time, but I don't
Mm,
put a toe in it. Like I
hell
go.
no.
I love the boat. I love boat life. I love boat life. I do. But I'm not putting a toe in that ocean because like my father said, when you step in the ocean, you are trespassing.
It's a whole nother world. But what up though, perpetual movement? Let's go. Let's get
Hey,
it.
hey.
Yep, and
That's
that definitely hit different if you were talking about um the conversation that I had with about my grandmother. But
yeah.
yeah, those are one of my two of my greatest fears is getting attacked by a lion or a shark.
So in your life, what do you think would be more likely?
See, and those fears probably will never happen because I'm not gonna say I'm not in the ocean much, but I know I'm not going to be out in the ocean to the point where a shark is going to attack me, and I'm nowhere near a motherfucking jungle. So most of my fears probably would not happen.
Because it would be like something like Malcolm Jamal Warner. You on a trip and you in the water and something just happened. Or you're either in Africa, you're on a safari and something happens. It is more
Right,
likely if you're a traveler, it is more likely that it could happen. But
right.
like me, I want to do a safari so badly.
No,
But
I listen. I definitely want to experience that, and I think I am going to experience some type
yeah,
of safari. I'm not too much. I don't too much care about the water, so I don't think that'll be an issue. But I definitely want to experience in a safari. I think everyone should at least experience, that. What are one of the another thing that you would love to experience, before you leave this planet? And I want to read a comment before you say that. Perpetual Mover said most things that people worry about never happen. That's
yeah.
just the truth, but the more things that you do in frequent based on the Lord of large numbers, there's a higher probability. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And sorry about that. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm over 50. So things are not as
It never
bright
happened.
or
You're
big to
right.
me as they
We
used to
worry
be.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
We worry about stuff that isn't going to happen, but we worry because it's a fear of the unknown. I don't
right.
know what's going to happen. So I worry about that. But it's okay, Perpetual. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I did too, and that's why I read it through. Sometimes we
so,
we all make mistakes. Perpetual movement.
you know what? My thing is I get that. I am a worrier. So when I go to the ocean and I'm on a boat, everybody's out. Oh, my phone is going dead. Everybody is out snorkeling, and I'm on the boat, and I'm so jealous because I would love to do that, but I am definitely afraid of sharks. Like, definitely. But I wanna go in a cage. I need some kinda covering. I need something, to protect me. So it's like, as much as I love them and I'm so interested with them, and, I'm obsessed, really. I'm obsessed with the fear of them, almost. Like, does that sound crazy? Like, I'm obsessed with the fear that they bring me. Like, that's crazy to me. you know,
It's kind of
'cause I know
yes and no. It's a yes and no situation, but I understand, because I'm the same way. I love sharks, but do I want to put myself in a situation where I may be eaten by this motherfucker if he get
well,
inside this cage?
well, that's why I need some steel in between.
Yeah, you gonna have
'Cause
to
I
go in
don't
there with
wanna
the
rub
whole
it.
bodysuit with the armor and shit on, just in case he
It's
get
so
inside the
majestic.
cage.
It's so majestic, but I don't know if I rent a boat, if I rent a shipping boat, and I mean a fishing boat, and go out and they chum the water, would I get in that cage? No. So I'm gonna give myself permission to say I would love to see some sharks. It doesn't have to be in a cage, but I would love to see. And since they don't do very well in captivity, I would really have to, go. But you go to like Mexico, California, like they're everywhere now. I used to
Yeah, I
want
mean,
to go
I was
to
gonna
like
say you go right out to
Cape-
Cali, they swimming around in the
yeah,
ocean right there.
yeah, I wanted to go to Cape Town because they were so big, or Galapagos Island or something like that. But
Right.
like you don't have to go that far. They're not that
But
far.
you know what? I'm gonna tell you this: go for it. If that's something that you want to do,
Definitely.
it sounds like a bucket list. And I've set a bucket list. It's a few things that I want to do before I move on to my next chapter in my life.
Like,
Um,
like,
um, Here, let me get back to. Let me actually think before I put it out there.
okay.
One of the things that I've always wanted to do that I haven't done. I did the parasailing.
Hmm.
Um, Does it have to be just anything wild or just anything?
Like something, a bucket list item. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Because it's a few things
Um,
that I've wanted to do. I'm not gonna say I don't have a bucket list. I definitely always wanted to travel to different places that I haven't been to. I guess one of my bucket lists would be traveling to Africa, just seeing what that continent has to offer, to see what our ancestors. I would love to go to some of the what do you call that, the slave dungeons that they had, to see what our ancestors went through and how they were treated, and just get a little bit more of that culture and the history on firsthand, I should say. So I would love to go back to our original hometown where our ancestors was from, and see that
mhm.
culture. That's one of the things that I said I've always wanted to do.
Well, I had a conversation with a guy. I think he's pretty intellectual, and he stated that why would you want to go back to a continent where they are the reason you were enslaved?
See, and that's crazy that you said that, because as you said that, I was just watching a show the other day where you had a group of Africans who was actually down talking. Well, I'm not going to say down talking, but most of the Africans that come here before they get here, it's
Mhm.
their own people that's telling them not to. And I've always thought it was the government who was telling these Africans, but you actually had Africans telling this story. Their own people are telling them not to communicate or fuck with the Americans over here, because we're a bunch of alcoholics. We fuck with a bunch of gang members, and just a bunch of stupid shit. You know what I mean? That's
Well,
not
first
true.
of all, you gotta realize that a lot of that comes from how the media portrays us.
Facts.
So they don't know us. They only know what they see on TV, and they're watching like I've actually had a conversation with a few Africans about this, and they're like, they watch like the Fresh Prince and Martin, and so they thought that all black people were silly
Right.
and slapstick, and so really, I'm gonna tell you something. I ain't trying to offend not one viewer, not one. This is my only my opinion, and
Speak your mind.
it, it's alleged. Let me say that. But there's only one race of people who have done us harm, done every race harm. Like, if you think about the history of the planet, there's only one race that steals, kills, and this
Oh well,
is
yeah. Well, we know
embedded
what
in
race
their
that
blood.
is. most
So
definitely.
I'm not going to say because I have people in all races in my life at some
Right,
capacity.
right.
But yeah, no, you had to go. I mean, to have a race of people come to your house, and for your wife to say, like your kinfolks, your cousins, to say, "Oh, you want to kidnap Damon? You want to take him somewhere? All right, give me $500, and you can have him. I'll bring him to you." That's wrong. I never had that conversation before with anybody, so I never really looked at it that way. Like, Africans are the reason and we really don't have a culture because one drop of something else and it's changed chemically. So we really aren't Africans, and we identify
No,
with
we're
Africans,
not.
but we're not.
We're
We're our
African
own.
Americans, but we're just Americans,
Right.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're Americans. We're Black
right.
Americans.
Black,
Is what
right. Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Black Americans.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I just think that people complicate things because everything needs a name, everything has to be compartmentalized, and nobody is just one thing. Nobody is just one way thinking. So
right,
let's stop trying to label people and put labels on people. You want to transition from a man to a girl, then do so. That's your business. It doesn't disturb me. Why do I feel like I get to comment on it, or I got to, make a comment on what somebody else is doing with their life, and it does not affect me. And it isn't until it affects me that I have something to say, that I try to have something,
right.
period. So I don't know. I just think that we think too much. We People talk too much. Let's stop talking. Shh. Be
Mm,
quiet. Do some
right.
reading. Do some meditation. Do something. And I'm not saying this because I'm perfect, but I am actively right now working on myself. Actively.
Right.
And it isn't because I'm crazy or I crash out. It is because I want to know how to move forward. I want to have the best life possible. And so I have to unlearn some stuff. Like I got to unlearn some stuff that I've been taught. And I've been taught that Africa is our homeland and all this. Yeah, maybe about 38% of me. That's my homeland for about 38% of me.
Mm,
But I got other stuff too in me. So instead of claiming everybody, I'm just gonna be me. I'm a
right.
mixture. I'm a melting pot. Like it's just what
Yeah,
it is.
right.
You ain't got to label me nothing.
Right. And that's just been one of my and I agree with what you're saying. That's just been one of the places that I've always, because we're supposedly from this place. So why, it's just always been in me to want to go back and see that land, and then also
Bingo.
see some of the things that our ancestors went through on their journey here. The different
So
stops where they had to make and things like that. It's just like different places in Virginia. It's different places that they stopped in certain islands.
that's
On the way
obtainable.
here.
Yeah,
So but
that's
yeah,
obtainable.
yeah,
Yeah, but my thing is, okay, so your bucket list, and this is something that Black people we have to get better at because excuse me, we talk a really good game. I can't tell you how many trips I plan and Black people want to go, want to go, want to go until the money due.
right.
So what we got to stop doing is paying other races mortgages.
Mm,
This is what we have to stop doing. So I just feel like you guys are buying Jordans, but Jordan don't even own the majority of the stock in Jordan. So why are y'all spending $400 and $500 on shoes for to pay to front for? What is the purpose? Can you tell me that? I want to know since you're a gym shoe lover.
well, okay. Well, I'll give you this. I'll give you my reason why I'm a gym shoe lover or why I buy Jordans.
Mhm.
Um, I told myself once I've got to the age where I'm able to do certain things, because growing up, coming out of a single parent household, my mom wasn't able to afford to be able to buy, things like Jordans. You know what I mean? Every blue moon, I might get a pair of Jordans or something like that. But for the most part, Jordan was out of the question. So I told
I get
myself,
that.
if I've ever got in a position, to be able to get the things that I want out of life, I was going to do that for myself.
Okay.
So it doesn't have
Well, you
anything
won.
to, and then not only that, I do like Jordan. I don't think I'm a big fan of his. At the same time too, and but I just always said that that was something that and not just with Jordan. It's with everything that that I said that I wasn't able to get, or my mom or my parents wasn't able to get me. That once I got older and I was more responsible with things, that I would try to buy the finer things in life. And I think
Well, you
everyone
know what that
should to get.
is? And I'm
Go
not a
ahead,
therapist, but you know what
go
that
ahead,
sounds like to me?
go
Childhood
ahead.
trauma. Childhood trauma.
I mean, it could be, it
Okay.
could be,
All right.
yeah.
So let's deal with the childhood trauma so that we can stop paying the mortgage of people that don't put back into our own communities,
Listen,
and
I
let's
agree
start
with you
being smarter.
100%. And I've slowed up, because at one point, it had turned into I'm not going to say a bill, but it just had got out of control. But
Oh,
I'm
I
not.
remember.
I
I
don't
was
go.
there
I don't go after the shoes like how I used to go after them.
because
And
that
that
day when
definitely
that
stopped.
lady didn't have.
Once my department has changed where I work
Let me tell you something.
at.
So I just was tired of we were driving from Toledo in separate cars. So one day I just was tired of driving that long way. So I said, Damon, can I please just ride with you so I could
Are you
just ride?
talking about how we met?
And he was like, yeah, but I gotta go pick up my Jordans. This lady holding my Jordans. And so by the time we
So
get
you
there,
just gonna put my business all out there, huh?
yes,
No, but go
when
ahead
we got there,
though.
as soon as we got there, she was like, I just sold them. I
I was
never
mad as fuck.
crashed out. I was just like taking it out on me, running red lights, like he mad. He big mad. I'm like, I knew I should have drove my
Listen, see, that was. I'm not gonna say in the beginning of my shoe career,
own.
but it kind of was in the beginning because
This
I've
was
learned
last
a
year.
lot.
Negro,
Uh,
this was last year.
nigga, that was like 3 years ago.
Three? It
Yes,
wasn't
look,
three.
let me show you something. Hold
So
on,
we're
let me
gonna
see if I
split
can.
the difference. We're gonna split the difference and say two.
And that's not even half of the collection. I still got to bring other stuff down. But listen, when I went to get that shoe or that shoe we was looking for, I might have probably had about um 5 pairs of shoes.
Well, listen, and I wasn't saying that to tell you what to do with your money. You're a
No,
grown man.
I
You
know you just talking shit, fucking
know
with
what
me.
I mean?
But and I
But I
understand
just
what you was
think
trying to say.
as black people, we need to do
It's more
better.
priorities.
Hmm.
Go ahead. My bad. I ain't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no,
And I,
it's okay. I'm agreeing. We need to do better with our money. The money talks, like money talks, and so if we don't start, possessing our money or spending black, I am on a quest right now to shop black only.
right.
And see, the good thing about being in Detroit is you could do that. It just takes some
Okay.
research. It may take some travel and some time and effort, but you can shop. You can have a black doctor. You can have a black therapist. You know what I mean? Whatever you need, a black mechanic, black everything, all black everything. And that's what I'm on a quest to do. It isn't a diss to other races, but I want to see what happens when I give only black people my money. But I'm not just giving any black people my money. I need some service. I need some good quality service and product and all of that.
Right.
So, I have no problem. I want to spend my money with black people. I really.
Listen, and listen. Listen. I wish we all could have that mindset. That we can spend first with our people and see what it feels like and the outcome of spending with your own people first.
So, what
Because
if your son came up to you? What if your son, when he gets 16, comes up to you and you say, don't, I want you to spend your money all black, to go to the black guy for this. And he said, well, why you wearing Jordans? Why you always had Jordans all my life and all of that? What's your answer going to be?
If my son came to me and asked me why did I buy Jordans, why was it
Well,
just
just
Jordan all the time?
that you know what? Because it's hard to say things to kids, especially kids nowadays, because they have so much access to knowledge and
Well, I,
things.
well,
And
I would give
so,
him that same. I would give him the same answer that I gave you originally. I would just tell him it's not. I would just tell. I would be honest. I would just be honest, like what I told you in the beginning. It's a lot of things that my parents. And I'll just say my mom. Because it was just really just my mom in the household. It's a lot of things that my mom was not able afford to be able to get me. And I said to myself as an adult, if I ever had a chance to buy certain things, and it's not just even with shoes. It's just anything that that my heart may desire, that
so
if
okay,
I'm
let me
able.
change it.
Go ahead.
Let me change it. Let me flip it. Let me flip it a little bit. All right. So what if your son at 15 years old came to you and said, "I smoke weed every day." What is going to be your response
Wow. So if he just came to me and just said out the blue like, "Dad, I smoke weed every day."
every day?
Mm. And I'll ask him. My first question would be, "Where did you pick up this habit from?"
Are you really gonna ask him that?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him that. That's
What?
gonna be the first. That's gonna
Wait,
be the
what?
first question I ask.
Damon, Damon, wait a minute. Hold on, partner. Hold on, partner.
I'm like, you smoke weed every day. Where
Yeah,
did
I
you
smoke
where did
weed
you
every
pick this
day.
up from?
I smoke
I,
weed every day. Where you think he got it from, partner?
I don't smoke weed in front of him.
Wait, you ain't got to smoke weed in front of him. You think he's stupid? You think he's slow? You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah, and the reason why I would ask him that because if he came back and said I got it from watching you, then I would definitely have to change certain things that I do, but certain things that I don't want, that I may think that's a negative influence on my kids or I'll
Hmm.
just say my youngest son.
Hmm.
I try not to influence I try not to influence him or have him around certain things that I think that I don't want him to be influenced or pick up on.
Okay, but I don't understand how people expect different than what they give. I don't understand. I find it very hypocritical. Were you smoking weed at 15?
I was not. See, let me say this. Look, and this is the difference because and you know what, I'm not going to even go there, but as a young teenager, I maybe saw my mom smoke weed, and it did not influence me at all.
Well, let me
Because I
tell
was
you
an
where I come
and
from.
let me say this because I was
No,
an
go ahead. I'm
athlete my
sorry.
whole life. I didn't start
Mhm.
smoking weed until I became an adult. Now
Okay, so
I experienced it once when I probably was about 18 years old, and I didn't
mhm.
like it, and it took me a long time um, to smoke again.
Well, I'm gonna tell you where I come from. I come from where my father would call on the house phone and be like, "Such and such coming over. Look under my bed in the shoebox, and it's a yellow envelope in there, and give him
I
that,
remember the envelopes.
and he gonna give you $25, and
Right.
you take that $25."
See, and that's
So,
crazy that listen, that's crazy that you say that because I somewhat come from that same type of background.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I don't even know if I even told my mother because my mother was just, on a different realm. Even though she knew he did what he did, she was
right.
professional, like, So no, but yeah, that was our drug dealer at 13. Yeah, I was. So
Right.
and I was smoking weed. I was smoking weed on a regular
So
basis.
my question to you though, do you think what you saw, do you think that influenced you in some of the things that you do now in your life?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've been smoking weed since I ain't gonna say smoking weed, but I had my first joint at 12
Right,
with some neighborhood friends. And so but I wasn't really smoking on a regular basis, but once I got the groove, you know what I mean?
right,
I was smoking. I can't really, it caused me to eat some stuff I didn't need to eat. It caused me to be lazy and a
right.
procrastinator. But I think that I still came out to be a good person. I ain't stealing from nobody. I ain't
Right.
out here selling my body. I ain't doing none of that. So I don't think it yeah, I probably could have made some better decisions. I was slacker, in my younger age. And
Well,
so yeah,
well, well, I want to ask you this question: do you think weed is a negative thing to do?
I don't think that it's a transition drug like they tried to make it seem like it was, oh, weed is gonna make you go to crack. I promise you, when I first met weed, you remember
Yeah,
that movie, Half Baked? Where he was
right.
like, I met weed. It was like,
Yeah, I think that just comes from the older generation trying to detour the younger generation
of course,
from just
of
trying
course,
to do that specific drug at that time.
of course. But I don't really see it as a bad thing, but I need kids to see it as an adult thing. It
Right.
isn't
I
something at
agree.
15 you can make a decision about. So when you become, 18 with a job, yeah, you can smoke all day. But I'm gonna tell
Right.
you something. What if your kid come in and he high? You know he high. He like that. I ain't had no weed, and he high.
Listen, I've had an
Hey,
experience like that with my daughter, and then the first time I saw her, I'm like, hold on, are you high?
you know high, high no
Yeah,
high.
and but she was grown at the time, but it kind of took me back. I'm like, what the heck, but
Yeah.
go ahead with your question again,
I'm
though.
just saying, like, I don't know. I I I see it as an adult thing. So if you're an
Yeah, and
adult,
I agree. Because I don't think anyone under 21 um should be experienced or smoking weed, because and the reason why I say that, because for some of the youth, to me, it seems like what we will do, it'll make you lazy. Most of them don't want to get it. Listen, that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of motherfuckers didn't graduate from high school,
oh
because they were
yeah,
out smoking weed, have you lazy as fuck, not wanting to get up and get certain things accomplished. So I mean, that's for a young adult who doesn't have what's the word that I'm looking for? Who doesn't have responsibilities.
some be
So
mhm,
yeah, so
yeah.
to me, I think anyone who's up under 21 and doesn't have any responsibilities should not be smoking.
But they are. They
Right,
smoking
yeah. And
because we
those
what?
are most
We what?
those are the people who smoking the most.
They're smoking, yeah, because we at work. That's
Right.
why we can't smoke at work.
Right.
But I will say this though. For the same benefits, and I'm not advocating for weed. I'm not advocating for anybody to do drugs or whatever, because it is a chemical drug. Well, it's a natural drug. I'm sorry. It is a natural drug, but it's becoming very chemical.
Well,
So
now it's becoming a chemical drug,
it
because
is.
most of the weed that we're smoking now is not naturally grown. It's
It's not.
modified. Yeah.
So, but I will say this, for the same benefits that we get from weed, um the medicinal things, it keeps you calm, it keeps you even, it levels you out, with the right dosage, it could do for them too. The one thing about our children are a lot of them have real anxiety, and so when we were younger, we didn't really call it anxiety. You could be anxious, but we didn't call it like anxiety coming up. But kids are really going through a lot of deep rooted depression and suicidal thoughts, and this online bullying that seems to never go away. That's something we didn't have to deal with coming up. So I think that weed, I'm not saying you could smoke a blunt in the garage, but an edible to help you rest at night so that you're getting a good, night's sleep. If anxiety and bipolarism is a part of your diagnosis, it really can help some people. It doesn't have to be weed. It could just be THC. It could just
Right,
be the oil,
right.
and I don't really see a problem with it if it's under a doctor's care and that it is, bringing that person to where they're even let up. Because I could tell you, weed has kept me from becoming a serial killer.
Hey, look,
But it's a,
let me
a
say this to
couple
you.
motherfuckers I
I
slap.
think marijuana is awesome. I think
Yeah,
really what it does, I think it calms the spirit. Because it's plenty of times where I've been, I'm just going to keep it real, in a rage, and wanted to do something. I'm not going to say no crazy shit, but just, just been upset to the point where, I could have killed the motherfucker. But, you smoke a joint or you smoke, your weed, and you totally calm down. That shit that you thought that you was upset and mad about, you don't blew that shit off.
yeah. I ain't
You know
blowing
what I
bags in
mean?
the street. I ain't out here blowing bags in the street. Like that is something I've never really been a fan of. But smoking a little bit at home. I'm not really a drinker, so it really just mellows me out. Like I can
Yeah.
enjoy it socially, but I'm not drinking every day.
But
So,
I want to say this though, and this bothers me.
mm,
I hate to see motherfuckers smoking around their kids. I was somewhere not too long ago, and you had this motherfucker. He had the baby couldn't have been no more than maybe 1 years old, and
mhm.
he just blowing. I'm looking like, what the fuck? This younger generation. I don't know what it is, but they have no respect for their children, far as to the point where they'll sit up and just be blowing weed all in their face, smoking, and that's one thing that I don't like. That's not to me. That's shouldn't be acceptable. And parents that do this, please don't do that. Because you're setting a bad
A
president. Yeah,
precedent.
you're setting a bad precedent, for your kids. Let them be able to decide, what they want to do once they get up to age, because at the end of the day, it does influence your children whether you think it does or not. So try
Yeah,
to
I'm gonna tell you when you say something I don't like. This is just how I'm set up. But I didn't like that you just said that it's the younger generation right now. It is not. I think that fathers, black
that's
fathers,
that's what I've been
let,
noticing seeing of lately, the younger generation. But go ahead.
it is not. I have seen black fathers come back in droves. They are present and in their kids' lives, and they're doing TikTok videos with their kids. It is beautiful to watch. These mothers are out here. They
No, I'm
are.
talking about just sitting up smoking weed in front of the
But
kids.
it's not because I know older people that do it too. I know people that's way too old to be doing it. But what is the difference between smoking some weed and smoking a cigarette in front of some kids? What's the difference?
I, I mean, there's no difference because I even think smoking cigarettes in front of your kids is
Yeah.
a bunch of bullshit.
Hmm. Yeah, I do agree. I just feel like kids shouldn't be subjected to that. But who am I? Because the one thing I don't have a conversation with people about is religion and parenting. I don't. Because people gonna raise their kids the way they want to raise their kids. So as long as you're not, physically beating them in front of me or making them harm, what can I say about you smoking? Now it is a law. You can't smoke in the car with your children now. But I'm not at your house when you are, in the evening time when you're home from school and your parent. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh, my bad. I turned my mic off.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you don't have a problem with people smoking in front of their kids? Is what you're
I
saying?
no, that is the opposite of what I just said. But I just said that, oh, who am I? This is your child. You raise your child the way you want. If I come over your house and you are beating your child or you are just neglectful or something like that, I would say something. But really,
But
how
really,
much say do I have? Do I call the popo on you? Do I, and that's a conversation in itself. Like,
yeah,
when
because
do
look,
you
I'm the type of motherfucker. I'm gonna say something because look, let me say this. It was a lady today. She had I was in the store on my way to work. She had her daughter's baby. Her she the daughter had just had the baby. It was a preemie baby, and she in the
Mhm.
store trying to. I believe she was trying to get her wick or whatever. And I'm looking like it's like maybe 20 to 30 people in the store. I'm saying, and I told her, I said, "Don't you think you might want to cover that baby up?" I
Oh
said, "All
yeah.
these people, and this baby was like maybe not even 5 pounds small." She was a preemie, and the mom was still at the hospital. And the baby was able to come home with the grandmother. I asked her, I said, baby, I said, you might want to cover that baby up. I'm like, it's a lot of germs going around, and it's a lot of people in here, because at first she said he'll be all right. And then I'm like, you might want to cover that baby up. And then she thought about it and she covered him up, So in certain situations, I try not to tell people, what to do with their kids, but at the end of the day, some people you just got to tell them what to do.
Well, you know what? But it also has to be, it has to be warranted. You know what I mean? You can't tell some people that. Some people
No,
will
and
cut
I
you
agree. It
clean
does
off.
have to be warranted, and that I
Mhm.
thought was warranted because I was just thinking about the baby's health and safety first. I'm like, why would you have a brand new preemie baby up in this motherfucking store with all these crackheads and alcoholics up in this store? Breathing in all these germs and shit. And I just thought
Mhm.
about the baby.
Yeah, and I know, and that's a true sign that you're a 50-year-old because we always got something to say, right? This is what they
Yeah,
say.
listen, I was always told, speak your mind. Closed mouth never
Yeah.
get fed.
But the thing about speaking your mind is when you speak your mind, you also have to be accepting of the response. And so you can't be
I agree.
offended when somebody respond crazy because you open
Like,
yourself
mind your
up.
motherfucking business. This is my
Yeah,
motherfucking
old
grandbaby.
ass man. Yeah, old ass.
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up. Go on, take
yeah.
care of your old kids. Oh, they going in on you. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
And so you have to you have to accept the answer when it comes back. So I pick and choose my battles when it comes to telling people about their parenting or about religion or any. I really don't tell people because whatever God you serve, as long as you ain't hurt nobody and it's getting you through every day, then so be it.
Listen,
I know what I do. you
and
know.
that's one thing that I try to stay away from. But somehow I still get off into those conversations. I try to stay away from religion and politics. But
Yeah,
somehow
yeah.
I always get somewhat kind of dragged into those conversations.
But you know what? I had to cut it off because to me, those are those dead end conversations that don't go anywhere because everybody's going to leave still feeling the way they felt. And so you've had this heated conversation, got your blood pressure up. We 50. We can't be giving our blood pressure up. Like you got to know your role. So,
Right.
yeah, I want to say stuff all the time, especially when it comes to children, because I've worked with thousands. I may not have my own, but I have been responsible for thousands. And I feel like I know. But then there are people who feel like because I don't have kids, I really don't have anything to say. I shouldn't be saying anything. So I've gotten that response too. I have to respect that and eat that because if I put myself out there like that to comment on your child and your parenting, then I have to accept what comes back. And some people will be like, "This is my motherfucking child. I will raise my child the way I want to. Don't nobody tell me what to do, and all of that. And I don't want no smoke."
Right. Now, I do. I before, and I want to, and I agree with you on that too. I do want to ask you this question. It's we're getting off into, we're over an hour. And I kind of want to, before we end the show, I want to ask you about this whole Cincinnati Broad situation. Are
Now
you
tell me
familiar
about it.
with what's been
I'm
going on with
boycotting.
that?
I'm boycotting the news and social media, so I really don't know what's going on. So tell me a little about it.
Okay, it was a situation where you had the Cincinnati Jazz Fest that went on about
Mhm,
maybe a couple of weeks ago. It was
mhm,
an incident where you had a group of white folks that were out there that got drunk and that was kind of somewhat belligerent, that were throwing out racial slurs. And they kind of got into it with some of the black people that was out there.
mhm,
It was a few arguments, a few disagreements that was kind of disputed, and they broke it up. And then
mhm,
the white guy, he was kind of out there. He was pretty more like the agitator, so they kind of
mhm,
separated him from the original black guy that he got into it with, and it was another black guy that tried to intervene. He ended up smacking the dog shit out of the black guy. And they beat the shit out of this white guy. It was a few people, a few black folks that jumped on him, beat the dog shit out of him. He had a female that was with him, the white guy. She tried to jump in, intervene. They knocked her the fuck out too. So it's been a big. This has been the number one story on social media throughout the country. Um,
Well, it sounds like Montgomery.
yeah, it pretty much it was kind of like the Montgomery situation. You're talking about the boat when they were out there fighting on the boat. It was
Oh,
somewhat
yeah.
kind of like that situation, you know.
Mhm,
Um, but this is what's been going on. They've been locking up all the black folks that were involved in this brawl. That didn't lock up the actual culprits that started the situation. So I just want to get your opinion on that. How do you feel? Because this is what's been going on, and a lot of people think that it's been stemming from previous jazz festivals because some of the and this is I'm not going to say all, but these are some of the things that's been coming back. A lot of the white folks down in Cincinnati don't like how the black folks been taking over um Cincinnati during the Jazz Fest in the summertime. You know what I mean? So what a lot of people are saying is that this was pretty much like I'm not going to say like a setup, but they pretty much were down there starting shit, instigating a situation, and you actually had a city council woman from Cincinnati that spoke her truth on the situation. She said that this motherfucker begged for that beat down. So give me your opinion on this situation. Because this has been all over the news. They've locked up every last black person that had something to do with this brawl, but they have not filed charges upon these white folks that actually started this whole incident.
well, it just sounds like every other story that's going on, and it's hard to decipher between any of them now. Like, it's so many instances where white people are drunk and they feel like they can say and do whatever they want. Um, we realize that as Black people, we're fighting against a system, and the system is that white people can do and say whatever they want, and we have
Yeah,
to accept it, and the law is going to favor them. And these are all things that are proven. They're proven. So I just feel like until we start doing something different, we're going to get the same results. The protesting does not work.
at all.
It
The
doesn't.
marching doesn't work. The protesting.
It doesn't work.
It's only a few things that our counterparts respect.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. And, but I want to get into heaven. I ain't saying that I want a all out brawl with anybody. I don't want to go to war with nobody. I'm not that mad. Like, I even feel like everybody's so worried about, oh, well, Trump's doing this. We're going to be broke. Well, Black people, we've been broke. We're very resilient. We're going to make it work regardless. We're still going to laugh and listen to music and eat good food and all of that. So, you know, I can't explain why they do the things they do. I can only surmise. But if I had to guess, I would say that it's embedded in the fabric of them, that they can do and say whatever they want. And especially with this administration, they feel empowered to be able to do and say, and rightfully so, because who's in power is letting them know you can do whatever you want, and we'll pardon you, we'll dismiss the charges and all of that. So I think that every single person with melanin in their body, anybody with majority melanin in their body, has to do something different. We have to be on the same page. We have to plan. We have to come together. I don't think that part could happen. I don't, because you
Yeah,
still gonna have people out here trying to look rich on the street and broke in the bank. We still gonna have people that are not going to care, that are still gonna be out here killing each other, fighting over blocks that no one owns anything on. Like, you
yeah.
know,
I
it's
never
just
understood that.
me either. And I just think that we worry about the wrong things, and we need to start building our own communities and spending money with our own people. There is not another Korean on earth that will ever get my money again. I don't eat Chinese food. You can see my eyebrows, they look a mess. And until I go to the black barber that cuts them, then they're going to look like that. I'm not going to get my
Right.
pedicures, nails done, because if you don't care about my people, then you can't service me any product, because you
Right.
don't put the same care into it that you care, that you give other people. And that's a problem.
Yeah, and you know what? And I don't think the problems that we look and face as black folks will never change until we get that same mindset that you're talking about. You know, we have to change the mindsets of our people. You know, and a lot of shows that I try to do is to try to, you know, I'm not going to say try to change the mindset, but give our people a different perspective, on what just a different perspective on what they're usually expecting. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what our people has been going through. We have to. And I kind of don't lost my train of thought, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
okay, but I think that the
until
only
we change
way
our
that
mind, until we change our mindset on how we spend our money, how we how we treat each other, how we look at each other. It's always going to be the same old, same on, and we'll never listen. That's why
well,
we don't get the respect as a group of people now, because we can't even change the mindset that that we're in. You know what I mean?
you got to realize it's a system. This is an ecosystem that has been developed for us to feel this way. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's
but you got to realize we've been in this system for over, I'm gonna say, 500 and something years. We saw the tricks. We saw the deceitfulness that our counterparts give us, all the tricks, all the roadblocks set ahead of us, and we still fall for the same shit. We never, not once. I'm not gonna say not once, because at one point in time, but we've never saw the shit, during the Black Street. But we've never actually spin black, stay black, and just committed to, like how most of our counterparts, and I'll just say this. I don't like to say that, but the Jewish people, their money, will go through the Jewish community, I believe, 8 to 12 times before it touches any other race hands. Until we gain that same type of mindset, we'll always be in a situation that we're in.
well, the thing about it is, I don't want to make it seem, because in the way you say it, it makes it seem like it's our fault. And I'm not
Well,
saying
well,
that.
at, at, at
Wait, let me
some
finish.
at
Let me
at
finish.
some point in time, you kind of got to blame the people. If you're falling
Mhm.
for the same bullshit year and year and year over and over again, I'm not blaming us as, I'm not blaming us for the slavery or none of that shit like that. I'm blaming us for probably like the last 20 or 30 years, because as black folks, we could have been changed the dynamics of a lot of the stuff that we go through.
Well, you got to realize that a lot of what happened in slavery still affects us to this day. And so you got to take a race of people that have gone through what we've gone through, and we still raise our children based off of slavery. We're starting to maneuver to other things, but we still whoop our children with belts. We
See,
still
and you know what? And I want and before you change that, I want to ask you, and that's a listen. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, how do you feel about that? Because I have a 2 year old getting ready to be a 3 year old son, and he can be kind of difficult. I have not whipped him with a belt or have not whipped him yet, but what advice would you give to these young parents? Because I'm just going to be honest. We've all grew up getting whoopings and from belts, and then as you get to a certain age, it goes from the belts to you may get a fist to the chin.
I just feel like as a parent, your child, there are some children who need a whooping. They need a whoop. But then there are some children that shouldn't just be your go-to is I'm whooping you with a belt. Because kids are traumatized, and a lot of times is the parent or what happens around the parent that starts the trauma. So
Right.
whether you mean to or not, it happens. We're all when most of the time when you're a parent, this is the first time you've ever parent this child. So you don't know, ain't no handbook that come with these kids. If I caught like I remember I was with some girlfriends and the one of them was stealing. But me and my girl, we had money. So we went and bought our stuff. But because she got caught stealing, my mother thought that they told them that we were all stealing. I'm like, I ain't took nothing. Like, I got a receipt, whatever. But I still got a whooping for that because
Because you
I
was
should have
with him.
left. Because I should have left the store. So it
Right.
just taught me a valuable lesson. But that comes from slavery where Black parents would say, "No, master, I whoop him so he won't do it again. You don't whip him." You know what I mean? Like, we like to beat our kids, so master wouldn't beat our kids. But it isn't like that now. But a lot of the trade is still going on today, where we are. Like I don't understand. Like if I didn't get good grades, I didn't get half of the stuff I got. But that's not the case today. And then you're wondering why. You buy your kids joy. They have everything that they could possibly want, and they got all Fs. And you feel like I need to get it because I didn't have it when I was a kid. And to me, that doesn't make sense. Because even when we were kids, we had to work for stuff. We had to get out and mow lawns and, to get our
Yeah.
first
Well,
car.
listen, and those were when I did get Jordans, it was because I got out and I worked for it.
Yes. And that was
Yeah.
a good thing. That made you better because I
Right.
believe that all children need some kind of a struggle. Now, I'm not saying, neglect or, starvation or anything like that, but they need something that they work for. Because something that they really want, that they have to earn. Because if you're giving it to them, that's not making them a better person. Matter of
Okay.
fact, most of the kids that I know that got everything that they want, I used to be so envious of kids that got to stay out late and they got Gucci boots and oh man, she get all the fly clothes. They crackheads now. They recovering crackheads right now.
Wow.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, and that's
That's
not,
and that's
and that's across the
ironic
board.
how things kind of flip. The kids that you were talking about that had everything, their parents gave them everything. And
Mhm.
that comes from just not like well, kind of like what you said, not going out there earning and getting the things on working for it yourself.
And I think that
Versus your
a
parents
lot of
giving
it
it to you.
comes from our history with slavery. This is generational. This is chemical in our bodies and in our system. Like we were birthed from
Not
parents.
one, not,
Wait,
and
wait,
not to
wait.
cut you
Don't
off.
wait. Let me get it out. Let me get it
Go
out.
ahead,
We
get
were
it out. My bad.
birthed.
Not to cut you off. I want to say that, but definitely go ahead because I want to
We were
ask you that
birthed.
question.
Okay, we
And
were
I
birthed.
apologize.
We were birthed from women that had trauma. You know what I mean? Women come from trauma. And so we think we don't feel that. We think that wasn't given to us in some way. Like, yeah, we hold it all in. And we haven't, I don't know any slaves. I don't know anybody that used to be a slave, but do I know that the trauma is still there in my DNA, in my fabric? Yes, it is. So breaking it, I see black young people now starting to break it, to start to break the cycle. They feel like I've talked to a couple that feel like we shouldn't even teach slavery anymore. We shouldn't.
And that kind of was going to be the question I was going to ask you. When do you think we're going to get out of that mindset that, and I'm not going to say that we blame everything on slavery, but when do you think we're going to get out of that, off of that? I'm just going to say that crutch, and by saying that, a lot of the stuff that we do, comes from, our ancestors. The slavery that they went through, because we didn't see it or go through any of
Well, I ain't Nostradamus, so I'm not able to really say.
it.
I don't know for real. But I could
Because,
say
and why I say that, do you think like 30 years from now, um, those folks will be saying that? It comes from slavery, this, that, and the other, when, you
I
know what
don't
I
know. I
mean?
feel like it should be taught because it is history. And if
Right.
you're
No,
gonna
I
teach
agree.
history accurately, you have to tell the truth. I think that white people don't want to, and I don't want to say white people because there are some black people who feel the same way, but I do feel like they want to erase it because, especially the truth of it. Like they could tell you, oh, black people were slaves, period. No, what about feeding black babies to alligators? What about, you know what I mean, castrating men? What about having your way, making sisters sleep with brothers and moms sleep with sons, and all because you're perverted?
See,
That's the
those
kind of
are the
stuff they
reasons
don't want
why
you to know.
our kind of partners want us to not talk about it no more. And those are the reasons that you just mentioned, that it needs to be continuously talked about. You know what I mean? So
I don't
future
know if
generations.
continuously. I don't know continuously because I think that some of the things that joins the races is like music and entertainment, because all races like hip hop and music, they'll go to a concert and kick it together. The mosh pits be huge and kick it together. Ain't nobody thinking about, okay, well, this a white boy and, I don't want him dancing up, or this a black boy. They all in that mosh pit together. So I
Well,
do think that music and entertainment is something that, and then we're kind of, what schools are kind of getting away from it, and that's where you really started to learn about the logistics of what they wanted you to know about slavery. It wasn't until you talked to your black older people that would tell you about what really happened, or you read a book or an article. I think that I kind of listen to them when they say it creates a rift with other races by teaching it. I can hear them. I'm torn on if I feel like it should be forced upon them. I think that it should be an elective that they can choose to study or not.
I mean, world
But
history and history was forced on us.
it is, but we are not the writers of these educational books. We are not the people making the curriculum for real. We're starting to get there. We're
Okay.
starting to have higher positions in education and other fields. So I think that it's coming, but I'm expecting for every black person, every melanated person in a high position that can change laws to do their fucking job. That's what I expect. I I
That
I
never
don't.
that
You can't get
that
there into
never
a
happened.
system. Mm-mm. You have to do what's right, and if you don't, then you should be removed. It's just the point, whether you're black or not. I'm not voting for people just because they're black. I'm not hiring people or going to people just because they're black. I need for you to do exemplary service or work or care about what you're doing, right, wrong, indifferent. Right is always going to be the winner. And if you do anything other than that, to me, I don't know if it's just me. It's just my own way of thinking. You know, I don't
Right.
think that um you should alienate a one race because of a color of their skin. I just don't. And I think that's
No,
really
I agree.
trivial. I think that's really trivial because I'm one of those people that see the color of people's skin and ethnicity as a geographical thing. You know, Black
Yeah.
people, the sun was hot. So their skin is darker. It was really windy in China and Japan, so their eyes squint. Like to me, it's just evolution, and people don't believe in evolution. They don't.
Yeah.
I get it.
See, and
And
it's
who am I? Who am I?
and this whole racial thing, man. I treat and I've never been in this racial thing. It's something that's taught. Because my parents, my mom, they've never taught us or to be racist against no other race, and I've teach my kids that, and for the most part, like I said, it's something that's taught. We see it every day on social media, on TV. So
Mhm,
my final and last question to you is, do you think we'll ever get past? I know it's always going to be a racial issue, but
mhm,
do you think we'll ever get past the point where the black our race ever and that was my original question, ever get over the point, or just stop trying to you know I'm not going to say blame everything on what happened to our ancestors, but get past that point and move on and create a new what's the word that I'm looking for, just a whole new different look for our people. Just get past this whole I'm not going to say trying to blame it on what our ancestors went through, but I think that's kind of holding us back on what we can be going forward in the future.
I don't think it's like a thought process that holds us back because it's happening. No, systemic racism is happening. And so it isn't like, that it's a figment of people's imagination. I think that people don't like differences. And if you're ever different than someone else, they're going to see something, in you that is not up to par with what they feel like they are. So I don't think people will ever completely accept change and differences and individuals. I think that people will always compartmentalize and want to point the finger and say you're different. So it's just what it is. We live in that kind of world. I think
Okay.
that it isn't going to get better until Black people start having their own communities and
Yeah.
having their own money in banks and making decisions, and because it's a lot of races that make a lot of money off of us.
See,
and
go ahead. My
and
bad. Go ahead.
no, and until we stop the money train, and so that was my reasoning for bringing up the Jordans. Until we stop people from aimlessly just making money off of us, they can put anything out. They feel like we are just dumb and will spend money on anything that's flashy and got big labels on it and stuff. Until we get out of that, really, I don't see much change.
See, but
I
you got to
don't.
look at it though, and I'm gonna say this, and then I don't want to lose my train of thought. We're the consumers of this planet, and let me get back on the subject, and I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna go on ahead and wrap everything up. I don't listen. What our people have to realize, we're living in a dominated society dominated by white folks. It'll never be equal. We're always going to be discriminated against. Um, and it's always going to, it's been that way and it's always going to be that way. We're living in a country that's dominated and ruled by white folks. So until what you just said, get our own, which we had our own, the Black Wall Street, and that was bombed and tore up, and we've never rebuilt since then.
There are
So
a lot of
how can we
Oscarville.
get how can we get back to that point? Because a lot of our people that
We
owned
don't want
land and
to.
property back then,
We don't want
they
to.
ran away and walked away from that shit.
I could be honest, I don't want to. I'm okay with having segregation. Get on your land, I'll get on mine. It's cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this. I don't know what happened, but you popped out and popped in.
Am I can you hear me?
You're real low now.
Okay, look. It must be tired. But I say this, arm yourself. 2,000 rounds of ammunition for every weapon and just keep it in your house. Even if you don't use it, you can leave it to your children so that they have it. So with the weapons, they can get anything they need. So everybody needs to arm themselves. That's it.
There we go. Well, look, it's definitely been a great conversation. It's always a good conversation when we chop it up. DJ Shiny D, let everybody know what you got going on and where they can reach
I'm gonna be right here on this pillow right here when I put the pillowcase on it. So I really ain't got nothing going on right now.
you.
But I'm around. I'm around.
Let them know where they can get that shea butter from.
Man, Shea Butter at glossSheaButters.com. Or you can, email me at LloydLashonda at Yahoo and I'll get it to you.
Okay, there we go. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure chopping it up and conversating with you. This is how we do it over here on the What Up Though show. Hopefully, we were able to put I'm not going to say a change in your mind, but able to put something on your mind. Because a lot of things that DJ Shiny D brought up, about
Wait, wait,
us
wait.
as a
Hold
race,
on.
as a people, she was right. We have to, you know, um, get a whole different mindset on the way we've been thinking if we want to get out of
Let me tell
from how things been going. You know what I mean?
you. Yeah.
From
Can
just
I
up
read
out
what
of
Perpetual
how
said?
things been going for our
Can
people.
I just read
So we
what
got to we have to get behind our peoples. We have to support our peoples and try to start from somewhere versus just talking about it. You
Let
know
me
what I
read
mean?
what
So
Perpetual
that's what I
said.
like to do over here. I like to put things on people's
Let me
mind.
read it.
Go ahead,
Go
DJ
ahead.
Shiny. Say what you getting ready to say.
Yeah, let me read what Perpetual said because I see you about the lid.
Oh, I
Let me
didn't
read.
see it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, but don't speak about this like we may attempt to have these things. They have destroyed by the American government and people in America because they understand the power of collectivity. I agree. I
I
agree. And
agree.
until we get that
I agree.
mindset,
But listen.
Perpetual, yeah.
I agree with you, perpetual movement, but what have we done as a group to be able to rebuild what we once had and to
Well,
get
first of
out of that
all,
mindset?
let's get it. Let's get the young people's attention. That's what we need to do is get their attention. We
Let's
need
get it.
to let's form an opinion and get a plan together, and let's just start one step at a time. Let's get young people involved in community movements and get them out in the streets with us. Even if it's a block club, even if let them see that they can change stuff just by themselves. You one person can change things. So it just takes effort and it takes discipline. So let's just get them to know how powerful they really are.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I just try to bring up um, real things that a lot of people don't talk about. And I definitely want to continue this conversation, on another show, because it's a lot of things that I did not speak about, that I should have spoke about, but I'm gonna say that for another show. But I agree with you guys 100%. And I want to thank Perpetual Movement for his comments.
Rico,
I agree with
Rico.
you 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
But DJ Shiny D, give everybody your last words and we'll go ahead and close out.
Trust in God. Keep your faith. Drink lots of water. Eat good food. Good reproductive food. And be kind to each other. That's really it.
There we go. Well, I don't have anything else to add to this show. Your boy birthday, what's today? It's Saturday. My birthday is
It's
tomorrow,
no
and I
more.
only have one wish. I'm coming close up to 1,000 subscribers, so I need for you guys to make sure you hitting that subscribe button, and I want to be able to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. That's what I want for my birthday. I want everybody, all my Facebook and family friends, all my YouTube family and friends. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's my birthday weekend, so hopefully I wake up Monday with over 1,000 subscribers. It's your boy Dan D, and I am out. Peace.